So in continuing our video series, The Strongest in Dragon Ball, I want to ascend to a higher plateau of power and discuss the gods of destruction, specifically Lord Beerus. From the very beginning, since we were first introduced to Beerus in 2013's Battle of Gods, he was played up as being the most feared, or at least one of the most feared characters in the history of the entire franchise. And really, just within the first few minutes of the film, you can see why, as he awakens and slaps Super Saiyan 3 Goku out quicker and more efficiently than anybody else had ever done before with one blow. Literally everybody is afraid of this dude, and after watching this video, you'll know why. It's October, and that means Halloween. And even if you don't celebrate the holiday, Verve has something for you. On the Shudder app, on the Verve Combo Pack, there are tons and tons of horror movies on Verve for you to watch when you get the service, including not just independent horror films, but also recent movies, well, kind of recent, like American Psycho's on here, some of the Halloween films are on here, and also classic Alfred Hitchcock films too, plus a lot of creepy TV shows and creepy series can be found on Verve. Check it out down below. Plus, there's a new update to Nick Splat with new episodes of Doug, Rocket Power, and tons of Nick shows, and of course, anime, tons of it as well. vrv.co/geekdom. Try it out for free. The link is down below. In just the first few minutes of the Battle of Gods theatrical cut, the Supreme Kais are petrified that Beerus the Destroyer has awakened. We're going to discuss in this video why. Now, one thing I want to state is that the original plan for this video is that I was going to cover the gods of destruction in a group, but I decided to focus just on Beerus for a couple of reasons. Number one, he is the god of destruction that we have been the most acclimated to. He's pretty much become a member of the main cast. We've seen him in action more than any of the other gods of destruction, so he's the right guy, I think, to kind of explain to people what the level of these gods of destructions are at. Now, obviously, not all gods are created equal, and the debate amongst who the strongest god of destruction is going to go on until we have a definitive answer. It is implied that Beerus is the strongest, or at least one of the strongest, based on his performance in the Dragon Ball Super manga, but it's never been explicitly stated. But either way, because we know him so well, it's just easier to talk about Beerus as opposed to the other gods of destruction, because you can assume that they're at least relative as far as their power goes. Which one's the strongest? Well, that's a different debate. Now, the thing about Beerus, okay, and really the main thing that we see in the film version is not only him slapping away Super Saiyan 3, but also he uses one finger to tap Vegeta's forehead and knock him out, reminiscent of the Bone Thugs and Harmony video for Crossroads, where we have the Angel of Death doing the exact same thing to humans and taking their soul to the afterlife. Now, whether or not Toriyama was a fan of Bone Thugs, I probably doubt that, but nonetheless, it's a creepy coincidence. But I digress. Moving on, the other thing we see from the Battle of Gods movie is Beerus being able to dematerialize and rematerialize during his fight with Goku. This was not in the TV version of Battle of Gods in Super, but it's still something that should be noted. And for the purpose of this video, I will be combining the movie and the TV versions of Beerus's powers. Now, we find out in the movie version that Beerus was only using 70% of his power while fighting Goku. Now, the way that it's structured and the way that it's stated, it's presumed that he wasn't using 70% the entire time he was fighting Goku, only at the end of the fight when he uses the Sphere of Destruction, the Beerus Ball, to launch it at Goku. That is his strongest attack in the movie version. Now, during that time, there was a lot of information that applied for that film that really no longer or can no longer apply for the current era of Dragon Ball Super. Case in point, in V-Jump magazine, before the film actually came out as part of the promotional, V-Jump noted that Beerus is the strongest character in the history of Dragon Ball, but that's incorrect. In fact, even Toriyama said that during that time, but we find out in the movie itself at the very end, which can only be like part of maybe a twist ending or like a twist for the audience, that Whis is in fact Beerus' teacher and more powerful than him. Now, shortly after the film, Toriyama released a somewhat controversial but very interesting power scale in an interview he did for the anime comics version of Battle of Gods, a Q&A interview where he stated that he supposes if Beerus' strength is a 10, then Super Saiyan God would be around a 6, which tells me that that 70% was not during the entire fight whatsoever, but then he goes on to say that Whis would be about a 15. Now, as a result of this power scale, it's confused a lot of people because they then start asking questions like, well, where does Super Saiyan Blue, Rose, where do these things fit in that, 6, 10, 15 scale? The easy answer is that they don't fit because the scale that Toriyama had come up with during that time only applied for that time. This is before Resurrection F or Super were even an idea in Toriyama's head. So really, in some ways, you could use that for just the film as a standalone story, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't hold up compared to the powers that Goku and the others have shown in the Dragon Ball Super anime moving forward. Case in point, the battle between Goku and Beerus in the anime version had some feats that weren't even discussed in the movie version. For example, their battle was causing major disruptions in the natural order of the universe. We didn't see any of this in the film version. Goku and Beerus' clash of fists was causing the entire universe to shake. And it's funny because in one of the original Toriyama interviews, Toriyama says that Beerus could easily destroy the Supreme Kai realm, which orbits the primary universe and exists outside of the plane of the regular universe. But obviously, with Dragon Ball Super, Beerus at this level of power can destroy the entire universe if he really wanted to. Now, whether or not he can do it with one shot, that's up for debate, but nonetheless, that original 6, 10, 15 scale just can't be taken seriously when discussing what happened after. Beerus has always displayed an incredibly impressive amount of knowledge when it comes to the martial arts, obviously because of his training from Whis. Not just the fact that this dude is a god of destruction and has abilities that are granted to the gods of destruction, but also the fact that he knows several forms of martial arts, including Hapkido, Aikido, and Aikijujutsu, and we see him cleanly wipe out the Z Fighters with leverage-based attacks that required little to no effort, culminating with him using chopsticks to knock out Piccolo. Come on now. And like most Dragon Ball characters, he does have enhanced senses, enhanced hearing, vision. He can sense things instinctually. He can breathe in space. Even if Beerus sneezes, he can destroy a planet like we saw in Resurrection F, the movie. His energy projection abilities are second to none except for maybe the gods above him. And it's not explicitly stated how far along he is in his training, but it is stated that he has knowledge of Migate no Gokui, Ultra Instinct, but he has not perfected it yet. So if you go beyond the movie, Beerus' feats are absolutely absurd. Not only does he tap a table and blow up half a planet in the first episode of Super, but in the manga version of Dragon Ball Super, there's a depiction of a fight between Beerus and his brother Champa, another god of destruction, where we see several planets and moons exploding around them due to the sheer power they possess, and they are completely unaffected, and it's stated several times by the angels that if two gods of destruction were to ever fight, it could result in the cataclysmic implosion of the universe. And by the way, speaking of Champa, just a quick side note, because I'm not going to do a video about him, at least not anytime soon. Don't forget how powerful Champa is. Hit fans don't like to hear this, but during the Universe 6 arc, Champa didn't give a damn about time skip and literally punked out Hit, threatening to put him in a coffin if he crossed him, and Hit started to sweat. No matter what, Champa is really, really strong. And don't forget, these guys fought at the dinner table and created a huge pit, and they weren't even being serious. But there are other little feats here and there in Super that really create a debate about how strong he is. He could be universal, he could be multiversal. It depends. Every power scaler has their own kind of opinion on it, but either way, it's crazy. One of the other insane feats that we saw was in the Arale episode, which again, this is also, it was a gag episode, but Beerus does travel across the universe from his home planet to Earth, which is a macrocosm within 2 seconds. Now, what's interesting about this is that it was stated that Whis was the fastest in the universe, and it took him about half an hour or so to get to Earth from where Beerus was at. And Whis himself states in episode 69 that he had never seen Beerus move that fast. Now, to me, that's just a gag for this episode, which really made no sense anyway, so I would not take that as being official. I still think Whis is faster. It was just a goof for this episode. But if you want to factor it into Beerus' feats, I mean, that's insane to be able to travel across the macrocosm that fast. And in that same episode, we found out that the Hakai technique, when performed by Beerus, can completely and utterly wipe you away from existence like he did to Dr. Mashirito. We kind of suspected it, but this was the first episode that actually confirmed the power of the Hakai. Now you're probably wondering, well, wait a minute, why is Beerus' Hakai so different from Toppo's? Toppo was also a god of destruction using Hakais, but he couldn't wipe away somebody cleanly. Well, I think that the Hakai technique can also be controlled, and I think Toppo was suppressing his power because if he hit a real Hakai technique and killed someone, he would be disqualified from the Tournament of Power. So that's one explanation, but also I think that Beerus has complete mastery of the Hakai. We know that Toppo has been trained to be a god of destruction, but Beerus has been one for several decades, if not centuries. So there's just no comparison in the two as far as experience goes, and Beerus can wipe you away from existence. Now, he does make one miscalculation because he incorrectly assumed that when he destroyed Zamasu with the Hakai, it would erase him from all timelines, but we soon found out that he still existed due to a time paradox involving the time ring that he used, which allowed him to exist and create a split timeline. And don't forget, in Dragon Ball Super episode 95, Beerus literally blew away with his breath Sidra's God of Destruction energy. So if anything, Beerus is probably way stronger than Sidra based on all the evidence we have. And it seems like Beerus and his use of Hakai energy is at a higher tier than Toppo or perhaps even Sidra. And don't forget, Beerus also has the ability, I mean, this guy, his list goes on and on. He can nullify ki attacks, which he says in the Battle of Gods arc. He says, I can nullify all ki. And he can clone himself and shoot blasts from the clones. And we've never even seen him at full power. But think about this. As strong as Beerus is, Whis can one-shot him with ease. So I'm sure we'll be covering him in a future edition of The Strongest in Dragon Ball. But for right now, Beerus is still a fearsome enemy. The debate will go on forever about whether or not Ultra Instinct Goku surpassed Beerus, because Beerus certainly thought that it was possible in the episode, but he never confirmed it. Plus, we still have not seen him at 100% to this day. So if we ever do, hopefully someday, we'll get a much clearer picture of what Beerus' limitations are. But it is implied that he sleeps a lot and doesn't train. So if he really doesn't train, what would happen if he did train? How strong would he get? When was the last time he actually did some training? We don't know. Could have been centuries ago. Who knows? He's already that strong. With that said, I will close the book on this edition of The Strongest in Dragon Ball as we discuss Beerus and some of the other gods of destruction. They all seem pretty impressive, but Beerus is the one that we know the most and also the one that we probably love the most, even though I love Champa as well. Remember to like the video, spread it out, share it, and drop a comment if you're so inclined. I want to hear your thoughts on the video and on your thoughts on Beerus overall. Thank you so very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all soon.